Okay, so the first unit that we're going to be working on in MAP 4C is trigonometry. So it's the study of triangles. Okay, what are things that you remember about trigonometry? Throw words at me. What?
Either there are three sides given or two angles given, one angle.
Okay, so okay, sine law, cosine law. I heard. Okay, what else? I heard someone say SOHCAHTOA. Okay, what else? Hypotenuse. Okay. Adjacent. Opposite. What? Can't hear you. Angle of depression. Okay. These are only vocabulary. Okay. If you put them all together in a sentence, they won't make sense. Okay. Angle of depression. Elevation. Yep. What else? Okay, so there's word problems, solving word problems. Trig ratio is the SOHCAHTOA. What's the formula called? Okay, what's the formula? A squared. Pythagorean theorem. Okay. Good. So, somewhat familiar? Names? Words? Ring a bell? Somewhat?
Yeah.
Maybe you don't remember the formula?
It's like I did it yesterday.
Seriously? It's like I taught it to you yesterday. Okay, so these are basically the big vocabulary of trigonometry. Okay, we're missing the names of the triangles. What type of triangles do we have? Right angle triangle or isosceles, which could be a right angle or the other one. But the other name that I want to mention is oblique triangles. Oblique, it means they don't have a right angle. Okay, so either you have two options. Is it a right angle, then you deal with it in a way. Is it an oblique triangle, then you deal with it in a different way. Okay. Now, what we're going to review today, and again, I will go over these with the lessons with you, but this is just a quick review of what trigonometry is all about. Okay? So when we are dealing with angle triangles, triangles will have this is the symbol of a triangle. Have a 90-degree angle, right? And that's what we indicate with a square, right? That's why it's called that. That's why we have this little square here that indicates 90 degree. Okay? So right angle triangles have a 90-degree angle. How about oblique triangles? All three what? Mm-hmm. Does this work only for oblique, or does it work for both types of triangle? Both types of triangle, right? So the right angle triangle, they're special angles. They're special triangles because they have the 90 degree. Any other triangle is called an oblique. Okay? That means it does not have a 90 degree. The right triangles are special because we use special formulas to solve them. Okay? When I'm asked to solve a triangle, basically what I'm asked for is I'm asked to solve either for an angle, a side, or whatever angles and sides I'm missing. Okay? So I'm either asked to solve for the angle here, or I'm asked to solve for the side here, but they have to give me some kind of information. Okay? The formulas that I use with right angle triangle only are SOHCAHTOA. Who knows what SOHCAHTOA stands for? Sine is opposite over hypotenuse. Okay, so before we go through this, let's look at a right angle triangle and let's name it. Okay? In a right angle triangle, other than the 90 degree, you need to have another angle, or you need to be looking for another angle. Okay? Which we call that angle the angle of focus. So, let's say, for example, in this example, I know this angle right here. Okay? So this is what we call the angle of focus or the angle of interest, because this is the angle that I know or the angle that I'm looking for. It depends on the situation. But let's say this is the angle I know. Then how would I name my triangle? When it comes to the right angle triangle, I'm going to have to name the sides. So I'll have a hypotenuse, I'll have an opposite, and I'll have an adjacent. These are the three names that we name the right angle triangle with. Okay? Hypotenuse doesn't change. Hypotenuse is always the side that is opposite to which? To the 90 degree. Right? So whatever your 90 degree is, the side that's across from your 90 degree is called your hypotenuse, and it will not change. It's always that side. So this is always the hypotenuse because it's opposite to hypotenuse. That's an E and U. Now, the other two names are called the opposite and the adjacent. So if you're looking at that angle of focus, which side is opposite to that angle of focus? The one standing or the one lying down? Standing. So because this is my angle of focus, this is going to be my opposite side, yes? Then it leaves me with the adjacent side right here. The most important part of solving a trigonometric question is to be able to name the sides. If you name the sides wrong, then your whole answer is wrong. Okay? Now, if I have the same scenario, but my angle of focus is this one. So this is the angle that is given or the angle that I'm looking for. What happens? So the opposite is going to be the horizontal one. How about the hypotenuse? Where is the hypotenuse? Still the same, right? It did not change. In this case, it's still this one because that's the one that's across from the 90 degree. But what changes is now my opposite is this, right? And this is I'm just going to write adjacent as ADJ, which is I'll be writing it as ADJ from now. So now I know which side is my opposite. I know which side is my hypotenuse. I know which side is my adjacent. Okay? Why do I need to know this? Because I need to know which primary trigonometric ratio, so which part of the SOHCAHTOA I'm going to use. Okay? Now, SOHCAHTOA is an acronym, right? It's an acronym that makes, so you remember the formulas, okay? S stands for what? Sine. So sine of an angle, I'm going to call the angle theta, right? Because we call angles with a Greek letter. It could be sine A, it could be sine B, it could be sine whatever you want to call it, okay? Sine angle theta is, O stands for opposite, and it's divided by hypotenuse for h. So that tells me that my formula for sine is the ratio of the opposite over the hypotenuse. Yes? How about for cosine? What can you come up with here? Ka. Cosine, the angle is what? Adjacent. And how about TOA? T stands for tan. Again, angle theta is excellent. Okay? So, if it's a right angle triangle, I can use any of these three ratios to solve for either a side or an angle. Now, which one do you pick depends on what's given to you. If they give you the opposite and the hypotenuse, then you can use sine. If they give you opposite and adjacent, then you can use tan. If they give you adjacent and hypotenuse, then you can use cosine. It all depends on what kind of information is given to you. Okay? So part of the right angle triangle is SOHCAHTOA. What else can I use for right angle triangles only? Pythagorean theorem, right? So the other formula that I can only use, guys, I'm putting like big capital letters on only, okay? Only use for right angle triangle is Pythagorean theorem. Which says, Pythagorean theorem says the following. If I have my right angle triangle, the hypotenuse is called C. They call it the letter C, and the other two sides are called A and B. So Pythagorean theorem says that the sum of the square of the bases is equal to the square of the hypotenuse. So this is where the formula comes from. C squared equals A squared plus B squared. Okay? Where C is the length of your hypotenuse. Okay? So the hypotenuse squared equals to the A squared plus the B squared. What happens if I know, so this is used when you know two sides and you're looking for the third. Okay? So this is used when you know two sides and looking for third side. Okay? So let's say if I know this, let's say. Let's say I know this. What am I looking for? Side B. How can I solve for side B? So in this case, because I'm looking for this, my formula is going to change. So I'm going to have to bring the A squared over. So that becomes C squared okay? So what's C? So 5 squared minus 3 squared equals B squared. So 5 is 25 minus 9 equals B squared. And that's going to be 16 equals B squared. Am I done? So what do I need to do? Square root to solve for B, right? Because the opposite of square is square root. So to square root here, then B equals to 4. Okay? So I was able to use Pythagorean theorem or a version of it, right? Rearrange the formula so I can solve for my side. Okay? So in a right angle triangle, these are the only things that you can use. SOHCAHTOA, or Pythagorean theorem. It depends on what you are given. Okay? You mentioned something earlier, and I did not write it down. What's the sum of all the angles inside of a triangle? 100 and what? 180. Okay? So the sum of all the three angles inside a triangle is 180. If you know 2, you can find the third. Right? Easy. Now, what if I don't have a right angle triangle? Okay, so we have other versions that are only used with oblique triangles, which are triangles that are not right angle. Okay? Because remember that these two options, the SOHCAHTOA or the Pythagorean theorem, are only used for right angle triangle. So the minute that I don't have a right angle triangle, I have to find other laws, which are the sine law and the cosine law. So, I try. Okay. When you have an oblique triangle, usually we go like this. Angles are named with capital letters. Okay. So for the angles, I use capital letter. You can use whatever letters you like or whatever they've given you. I use A, B, C, let's say. Okay. The sides are the ones, so the opposite side is going to be named with the opposite, with the same letter. So if this is angle A, then this is going to be side A. This is angle B, then this is going to be side B. This is angle C, so this is going to be side C. Okay? So we always go angle, opposite side have the same letter, but it's a small letter. Okay? Now, when you name this triangle, when you name the triangle, it depends on what is given to you. Then you pick either a sine law or the cosine law. Okay? I'm not going to go through when do we use what, because this is going to be a whole lesson that we're going to do again. Yeah? So we'll go over it again. Now, it won't be in too much detail, but we'll go over it. But the sine law says the following. So, sine law is sine, so there's two formulas for it. Sine the angle A over side A equal to sine angle B over side B, or equal to sine C over side C. Okay? So this is the sine law. When we have this law, we only use two of the ratios. So we only pick either the first two or the B and the C. It depends on what's given to me, and we'll talk about this later on. There's also another version of this sine law, which is the same thing, but instead of sine on the top, it's going to be the side on the top. So it will be the inverse of this. Okay? And we also have the cosine law. Again, we will do a lesson on this. Don't worry about it. I just want to introduce you to the formulas. Do you have to memorize the formulas? The answer is no. You'll get a formula sheet. Okay? Yes. Yes, I know. And then basically for the cosine law, which is the other law that we use, do you guys remember it? Yeah. What is it? So, what's the formula? A squared equals?
B squared plus C squared minus cosine angle A.
Yeah, so there's different versions of it again, but this is one of them. Cosine law can be used if you know two sides, but the angle between them. If you know the angle between the, so if you have this, if you are given this, and these two sides, then you can use cosine law. So it must be the two sides and the contained angle. Okay? Otherwise, you can't use cosine law. Or the other way, the other option to use cosine law is when I know all three sides and I'm looking for the angle. So if they give you all these three sides and they ask you to solve for an angle, then you can use the other version of cosine law. Which is this. Okay? Again, we're going to go in details of when to use what. Okay? By Monday, we will start our lessons. I'm not going to spend, as I said, I'm going to try the review to go like over the review as we go through the semester. So if we're covering this unit, we're going to do a review for this topic. When we cover the exponential, we're going to do just a review for exponential. Okay? So this way, we keep the review kind of like focused. Okay? So this is a quick review of trigonometry. All right? We will start our first unit hopefully by Monday, as of Monday. If you guys are still not 100% sure about this, just let me know and I can find or I can post some videos where you guys can look over at these videos over the weekend, and then this way it will help you kind of understand it a little bit more.